Welcome to Group 6 Wars. You'll learn about major conflicts in U.S. history and why they happened. It starts with the American Revolution, fought to become free from Britain. In the 1800s, we cover wars like the Civil War, which helped end slavery. The 1900s include World Wars I and II, plus the Korean and Vietnam Wars to stop communism. Finally, we cover military conflicts after September 11th, such as the War on Terror. Remember these names and reasons as we begin Group 6 Wars.
What war did the Americans fight to win independence from Britain? American Revolution. The American Revolutionary War. War for American independence.
What war did the Americans fight to win independence from Britain? In the 1700s, the American colonies were controlled by Britain. The colonists wanted to govern themselves, make their own laws, and decide their own future. When peaceful efforts failed, fighting began. That war is called the American Revolution. You may also hear it called the American Revolutionary War. Both names describe the same conflict when the colonies fought against British rule to become a separate nation. Another correct name is the War for American Independence. This name focuses on the goal of the fighting, independence. The colonists were not just fighting a battle, they were fighting to create their own country. Here's an easy way to remember it. If you hear independence, think of the colonies breaking away from Britain. All three names point to that same moment in history. So in the exam, you only need to say one correct name: American Revolution, the American Revolutionary War, or War for Independence. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. What war did the Americans fight to win independence from Britain? American Revolution. The American Revolutionary War. War for American independence. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. War of 1812, Mexican-American War, Civil War, Spanish-American War.
Name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. The 1800s were a time of major change and conflict for the United States, and the country fought several important wars during that century. Early in the 1800s, the United States fought the War of 1812 against Britain. This war was about trade problems, national pride, and independence. Later, the country fought the Mexican-American War, which resulted in the United States gaining new land in the West. The most serious conflict of the century was the Civil War. Americans fought against each other over issues like slavery and the power of the federal government versus the states. Near the end of the 1800s, the United States fought the Spanish-American War, which showed the country becoming more involved in world affairs. Here's an easy way to remember it. The 1800s included wars with Britain, Mexico, within the country itself, and later with Spain. So in the exam, you only need to name one: War of 1812, Mexican-American War, Civil War, or Spanish-American War. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. What war did the Americans fight to win independence from Britain? War of 1812, Mexican-American War, Civil War, Spanish-American War. What U.S. war ended slavery? The Civil War.
What U.S. war ended slavery? In the 1800s, the United States was divided over the issue of slavery. Some states allowed slavery, while others did not. This deep disagreement led to a major conflict within the country. That conflict was the Civil War. The Civil War was fought between the North and the South, and one of its most important results was the end of slavery in the United States. During this war, slavery was challenged and eventually abolished. Here's an easy way to remember it. If you think about the war that changed the country and ended slavery, think of the Civil War. So in the exam, the correct response is simple and direct: the Civil War. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. What U.S. war ended slavery? The Civil War. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Persian Gulf War.
Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. The 1900s were a century when the United States was involved in several major wars around the world. These wars happened for different reasons, like protecting allies, stopping threats, or defending freedom. Early in the century, the United States fought in World War I, joining other countries in a large global conflict. Later, the U.S. fought in World War II, another worldwide war that had a huge impact on history and helped shape the modern world. After that, during the Cold War period, the United States fought in the Korean War and later in the Vietnam War, both connected to stopping the spread of communism. Toward the end of the 1900s, the U.S. fought the Persian Gulf War, which focused on protecting countries in the Middle East and keeping stability in the region. Here's an easy way to remember it. The 1900s included 2 world wars and several regional wars. In the exam, you only need to name one. World War II is an easy one to remember. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s. World War I. Why did the United States enter World War I? Because Germany attacked U.S. civilian ships. To support the Allied powers, England, France, Italy, and Russia. To oppose the Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria.
Why did the United States enter World War I? At first, the United States tried to stay out of World War I. The war was happening in Europe, and Americans wanted to avoid getting involved. But over time, events made it impossible for the country to remain neutral. One major reason was because Germany attacked U.S. civilian ships. German submarines sank ships that had Americans on board and ships that were trading with Europe. This made the war a direct threat to American lives and safety. Another reason was to support the Allied powers, England, France, Italy, and Russia. The United States shared similar values with these countries and wanted to help them win the war. At the same time, the U.S. entered the war to oppose the Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria, who were fighting against the Allies. Here's an easy way to remember it. Attacks on American ships plus support for Allies pulled the U.S. into the war. So in the exam, you only need to say one reason: German attacks on U.S. ships, support for the Allied powers, or opposition to the Central Powers. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. Why did the United States enter World War I? Because Germany attacked U.S. civilian ships. To support the Allied powers, England, France, Italy, and Russia. To oppose the Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. Why did the United States enter World War II? Bombing of Pearl Harbor. Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. To support the Allied powers, England, France, and Russia. To oppose the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan.
Why did the United States enter World War II? At first, the United States tried to stay out of the war. The fighting was happening far away, and many Americans hoped to remain neutral. That changed suddenly in 1941. The biggest reason was the bombing of Pearl Harbor. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, a U.S. naval base in Hawaii. This surprise attack killed many Americans and damaged ships and planes. After that, the United States could no longer stay out of the war. The U.S. also entered the war to support the Allied powers, England, France, and Russia. These countries were fighting to stop aggressive governments and protect freedom. At the same time, the United States joined the war to oppose the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan, who were working together and expanding through force. Here's an easy way to remember it. Pearl Harbor pulled the U.S. into the war, and then the country fought alongside its allies against the Axis. So in the exam, you only need to give one reason. You can say Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, or to support the Allied powers, or to oppose the Axis powers. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. Why did the United States enter World War II? Bombing of Pearl Harbor. Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. To support the Allied powers, England, France, and Russia. To oppose the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. Why did the United States enter the Korean War? To stop the spread of communism.
Why did the United States enter the Korean War? After World War II, the world was divided by different political ideas. One major concern for the United States was communism, a system where the government controls most things and people have fewer political freedoms. The United States entered the Korean War to stop the spread of communism. North Korea, which was supported by communist countries, invaded South Korea. The U.S. believed that if communism spread in Korea, it could continue spreading to other countries. Here's a simple way to understand it. Imagine a problem spreading from one room to another. If no one stops it early, it can spread everywhere. The United States joined the Korean War to try to stop communism from spreading further. So in the exam, the correct response is clear and short: to stop the spread of communism. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. Why did the United States enter the Korean War? To stop the spread of communism. Why did the United States enter the Vietnam War? To stop the spread of communism.
Why did the United States enter the Vietnam War? After World War II, many countries were worried about communism spreading to new places. The United States believed that if one country became communist, nearby countries might follow. The United States entered the Vietnam War to stop the spread of communism. Leaders believed that helping South Vietnam would prevent communism from spreading across Southeast Asia and to other parts of the world. Here's a simple way to remember it. Think of communism as something leaders feared would spread if not stopped early. The U.S. joined the Vietnam War to try to stop that spread. So in the exam, the correct response is short and clear: to stop the spread of communism. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. Why did the United States enter the Vietnam War? To stop the spread of communism. Why did the United States enter the Persian Gulf War? To force the Iraqi military from Kuwait. Quick recall. Why did the name one U.S. military conflict after the September 11, 2001 attacks? Global, War on Terror. War in Afghanistan. War in Iraq. Quick recall. Name one U.S. military conflict after the September 11, 2001 attacks. Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. The Civil War.
Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. In the 1800s, the United States faced a very serious conflict within the country. States in the North and states in the South disagreed over major issues, especially slavery and how much power states should have. That war was called the Civil War. It was fought between the northern states, known as the Union, and the southern states, known as the Confederacy. Americans fought against Americans, and it became one of the most important events in U.S. history. Here's a simple way to remember it. If you hear North versus South in U.S. history, think of the Civil War. So in the exam, the correct response is clear and short, the Civil War. Anyone is enough.
Quick recall. Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. The Civil War.